Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be talking about speech evaluation. So speech evaluation is there are speeches, and at the end of the meeting, someone gives an evaluation on the speech. So I'm going to be talking about that, giving tips on giving better speech evaluations. So speech evaluation is one of the core competencies of Toastmasters, one of the ways we improve our speeches. We get feedback on our speeches, and we hear feedback on other people's speeches. Today I'm going to go over evaluation tips. I'm going to go over what to evaluate, what not to evaluate. I'm going to go over the structure of an evaluation, and then positive feedback, giving constructive criticism, and then give a summary of it all. Evaluation. The evaluation is actually supposed to be a speech. It's not just coming up and listing a bunch of good things and a bunch of bad things. You're supposed to actually give a speech, so it should have an introduction, should have a conclusion, should have all of the elements of a good speech, transitions and everything. It's an actual speech that you're supposed to be giving. And as it's a speech, you don't give it to the speaker. So you're not talking to the speaker saying you did this. You're giving it to the audience. You're speaking to the audience about the speech. So you'll say, Tom did a good job when he did such and such, and Tom did a good job. So you're giving a speech to the audience, and you're giving it from the perspective of yourself. So you won't say things like, we all think you did this, because you can't really speak for everyone. You're giving a perspective from yourself about the speaker to the audience. You want to look for some non-obvious things. There are a lot of things that we normally give feedback on. If you can give some non-obvious things, that'll be more helpful for the speaker. And last of all, you want to look at you don't want to recap the speech. So you don't want to say you talked about this and then you talked about that and you talked about that. They know their speech. Everyone else heard the speech, so you don't want to recap it. So what to evaluate? You want to evaluate the structure of the speech, not the topic. So someone is talking about, the greatest NBA team of all time. You don't want to say, oh, I agree that this was the greatest team, or I don't like basketball. You're not talking about the topic or giving your opinion on the content of the speech. You're talking about the structure of the speech and the way you can talk about the title. Was it an effective title, a good title? And you're talking about the delivery. So you're looking at things like the use of gestures, did they have vocal variety, their eye contact, their use of the stage, and then you're also talking about the content of the speech. So content not related to the topic, but content like, did they use humor, did they use personal stories, and then you want to talk about the organization of the speech. Did they have a good introduction? Was it a captivating introduction? Did they have a good conclusion? Did it summarize it? Was the transition between the speech good? Did it have a logical flow? And a big point that you want to talk about the purpose of the speech. So in the book, the person has a specific purpose that each speech has, and so you want to definitely speak to the purpose. If it's a humorous speech, was it humorous? If it's a presentation speech, how did they use the presentation? So whatever the specific topic was, you want to speak on that. Now, the structure of the evaluation. The structure of evaluation is there's different schools of thought on it, but some of the standard is that you're going to talk about things that the person did good. You're going to talk about things that the person did bad. So you're giving 1 to 3 things that they did good, 1 to 3 things that they did bad. You don't want to give more than that. And as I get into how to do that, you'll see that you won't have time in your 3.5 minutes. So some people say you give 1 good thing and 3 bad things. Some people say you give 3 good things and 1 bad thing. So there's different schools of thought, and it would also vary depending on the skill level of the presenter. So if it's a new person, a new speaker, you probably want to encourage them more. If it's an experienced speaker, you want to tell them something that they didn't know. And you can also give them a challenge goal. The challenge goal being, it's not a criticism as in it's something they should have done at their level, but it's maybe something that could help them get to the next level. It's like, next time you may think about doing this. So it's not necessarily something that would have been expected, but it would just help take the speech up another notch. And you want to give a summary. You want to give a summary of your speech. You're going to conclude your speech. And so a lot of times people will summarize the speaker's speech. You don't want to summarize the speech. You want to summarize your evaluation. You're summarizing your evaluation. So now we'll talk about well, here's an example of one technique people use. They call it the sandwich techniques. So if you want to encourage the speaker, you give the good points, then you give the bad points, then you give one or more good points after that. It's a sandwich technique. That's one technique. When you give positive feedback, when you give the positive feedback, you want to tell what the person did good. You say, oh, you had good gestures, or you had good use of the stage. But you also want to display it. So if they had good gestures, you want to show the gestures they gave. If they had a good use of the stage, when you're telling about it, you want to use the stage. So you want to show what they did good, but then you also want to tell why it's good. Don't just tell them you use the stage good, you had good gestures, you had good vocal variety. Why is it good to have vocal variety? So you can tell them that it keeps the audience from hearing the monotonous and getting bored, vocal variety. So tell them why it's good. Don't just tell them what they did good, but tell them why. Similar when you're giving the critical feedback. You want to specifically tell them what they did wrong, but then you also want to tell them why they should improve it. Why, and then also give them an example. Give them an example of how they could improve it. If they had, something in their characters, you want to tell them that you can use different characters in different positions. So show them, one voice I'm over here, and the other voice I'm over here. So actually show them an example of doing it when you give the feedback. So in summary, when you're giving a speech evaluation, you want to evaluate the speech. So it's an evaluation. It is a speech. So it is a speech that you're giving. You want to evaluate the delivery, the content, and the organization. You want to give no more than 3 positive or 3 negative. You want to explain why what they did was good, and you want to give them examples of what they could do better. Thank you.